Hello, everybody. My name is Marco Volpe. I own Marco's Vino and Spirits here in Cortland Manor, New York. Today, we are doing a wine show. We are going to get not so much scientific, in-depth analysis on wines, but just to talk about wines overall. The process from growing the grapes to the winemaking process to different fermentation processes out there. To help me along the way, I have Chris Gambelli from Polaner Distributors to help me along the way, as with my guests today that frequent my store and are basically some of the best wine enthusiasts out there. Now, for all of you out there who are watching, I need a name for my show. The one who calls at the end of this show and gives me the best name for the show will make a special guest appearance on my next show. So this is one way to get the community out there to watch my show and come up with a brilliant name for my show. Before we actually start getting into the tasting some of these delicious wines, let's review and talk about winemaking overall. If you visit a lot of these vineyards, a lot of the select vineyards that we're going to showcase today, these are all pruned, hand-picked, hand-select, harvested with total love and care. That's why some of these wines, the quality on them is just far more superior than some of your mass-marketed or mass-produced wines overall. Chris, what wines are we showcasing today?
So we're going to kind of take a trip all around the world. First, I'll start with the reds. We're doing a Pinot Noir from Davis family from the Russian River Valley, 2009. We're going to Napa Valley. This is 2007 Grassi, Cabernet Sauvignon. Then Southern Tuscany, actually, Super Tuscan or a blend. It's a Sangiovese blend from Morris Farm called Avoltore, 2007. Then we're going to go to the Veneto in northern Italy. This is Tommaso Bussola Amarone, 2006 Classico. And then finally, the one white that we're doing today is Sancerre from the Loire Valley. This is Gerard Poulet.
People overall, when I do the tastings in my store, first question, what is fermentation? We're actually going to turn sugar into alcohol using grape juice. How that's done, the vintner himself actually delegates or regulates when the grapes are at their peak sugar level. They're hand-picked, crushed in the barrels. They're blended with cultured yeast, which actually feeds on the sugar, turning all that sugar into beautiful ethanol, which is, Chris, in layman's terms?
Beverage alcohol.
Exactly. Now, there are different guidelines to winemaking overall. Temperature is one additive. What's the next?
Well, it's a variable in the fermentation process, so that will control either the rate of fermentation, and different flavors are going to come out of that.
Now, what sulfides are used?
Sulfites are actually a naturally occurring compound in all living things. It's an essential ingredient in winemaking because of its preservative properties. It inhibits certain types of bacteria that feed on enzymes in the wine that would turn the wine.
Right, so basically, if you come into my store and you're looking for a huge cab, such as the Grassi, it's loaded with tannins. Now, what are tannins, Chris?
Tannins, also natural compounds that are in seeds, skins, and stems of plants. So they're a natural part of wine. And tannins you're going to sense on your palate as kind of those like grip or the texture that you feel on the wine. But every natural plant has tannins. So another thing that you drink every day, some of you, that has tannins is coffee. So it's the same type of thing. Like how do you smooth out the tannins in coffee? You add milk.
Right.
How do you
to soften the blow?
Exactly.
Basically, I tell everybody when they come in the store, take the grape itself, because generally when we do the tasting, I like to showcase the red grapes with it. Peel the skin off of the grape, and actually bite into the stem or vine itself. Chew it. Keep it on the front part of your tongue. All of a sudden, you're going to make this tart or bitter look on your face. Those are what we call tannins. Those are actually very essential to the winemaking process itself and its longevity during maturation in the bottle itself. Now, we're going to touch on three different kind of fermentation processes. We have bottle fermentation, carbonic, maceration, which is more whole grape cluster fermentation, where they don't use yeast. They actually use, they remove the oxygen and actually infuse carbon dioxide into the mix to break it down.
It's done by actually sealing the fermentation tank, because as we all know, a byproduct of fermentation is carbon dioxide.
Yep.
So when they seal the fermentation tank, the weight of the grapes actually bursts the grapes on the bottom of the tank. They start to ferment the natural yeast that occurs on the skins, release carbon dioxide, and then actually fermentation starts from within. So you get different flavors. You get kind of like bigger fruit flavors when you're doing carbon.
Yeah, now they're less tannic and more fruit forward, easier to drink.
Right.
When people come in also, and they ask me, you know, I want a wine that's not going to leave me with a bitter taste or like a dry effect. You're going to get a lot of those wines from this process because they are very fruit forward, less tannic. And the tannins are the things that actually give you that funny face when you're drinking some of the wines. But overall, those wines in general, you have to have with food. Those aren't just crack me open, start sipping me. Those are what we call food wines. Have it with a beautiful steak or ribeye, prime rib, and you'll see the difference because the tannin power from that wine actually is going to marry perfectly with a lot of the protein structure from the food you're eating, right?
It goes back to my analogy with coffee and milk. Yeah. It's, you know, the fats in the milk is what's kind of smoothing out those tannins. It's the same thing. The fats in that ribeye are going to kind of smooth out the tannins in the big red wines. It's kind of the same thing.
So let's start off with the Davis Pinot Noir.
Let's do it.
Tell me a little about this Pinot.
So this
where is this coming from, actually?
This is coming from the Russian River Valley, which is a sub-appellation of Sonoma in California. Davis Family Vineyards is a tiny family-owned vineyard producer. He actually farms the land. He is very active in harvesting the grapes, and also he makes the wine as well. So back to what Marco was saying about producers that care for the wine from soil to bottle, this is a perfect example.
Now, Chris, let's say a big corporation, how do they actually harvest the grapes? Are they handpicked, or are they, well, is there a harvester?
Yeah,
that actually goes out in the vineyards and actually, what does it do? Actually shake the vines?
Exactly. In large commercially produced wines that you'll see, you know, national brands, when they have to do large production, they're going to actually go out with harvesters, and that's exactly what they do. These harvesters kind of go through the rows, they come down on top of the vines, and they shake the vines, and the grapes fall out. So they get everything. So you're not getting hand-picked grapes. You're not getting the best grapes that are on the vine. You're getting everything.
And folks, just to let you know also, we don't know what else is going into that harvester or hopper. Could be beehives, could be frogs, could be birds' nests, whatever it is. A lot of these wines that I carry, these are all hand-picked. So we know for a fact this is what they do.
So this is actually an estate vineyard planted to a few different Dijon clones of Pinot Noir. It's hand harvested and made by Guy Davis himself. He ages this in oak, French oak, about maybe 20 to 30% new oak. So you're not getting like an overwhelming amount of oak flavor on the palate. You're getting really pure fruit and a sense of the area that it comes from. 2009 was a spectacular vintage up and down the coast in California for Burgundian varietals, so Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Absolutely, because we've tasted this a couple of times. The more this opens, okay, because we're going to get into decanters next and wine glasses. Why did you choose those glasses, Chris, overall, than the taller glass?
So there's two basic types of glasses here on the table. You have a Burgundy glass, that's the more balloon-shaped glass. You have a Bordeaux glass.